Hey everybody, I'm back again with another video. This time I'm installing a freewheel from Drift MANIAC. It's an 11 to 28 tooth upgrade. Now, I'm going to go through a real quick process of destalling and installing the new freewheel, and then doing a test to see if it was worth all the work. Anyway, let's get started with another video. Let's go! Alright, so I'm going to be changing my freewheel from the stock Shimano one to a new one that I got off of Amazon. And I will post the link in the description. This is the new one. It's going to take its place. You do need to get a tool. I got this super duper cheap one. I got this super duper cheap one off of Amazon also. I'm figuring I'm only doing this one time, but this is a really crappy one. So if you want a better one, I think it's $16. This one was $7, but I figured one-time use. And you need a really big wrench for this. These are the tools going to be using. I got a 1-inch. It's actually too big, but I'm going to stick a screwdriver in there to kind of help it if I have to. The hardest part is going to be getting this wheel off. So, okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is take off the motor stuff, and I've already cut the zip tie. There was a zip tie right here. Then you just have to pull your little cover back, like a little plastic nut cover here. And the other thing you want to do is disconnect your motor. Being very mindful not to twist it. You pull it straight back because it is pretty fragile, and we don't want the motor plug to get damaged, because that would be bad. There we go. So that comes out of there. And this, be mindful of the end piece here, because that is the part that puts all of the power and also has the sensors, speed sensors and all that other stuff. So we do not want that to get damaged in any way. And I'm going to loosen this. Once you get this a little bit loose, you can take off the protector. So once you shake that a little bit, actually I think you have to get this bolt all the way off. Let's see. No, you don't. So this goes on like that, so it can come up and out, and that'll loosen that. Be mindful of your torque sensor or torque arm. Well, in this case, it's got a torque washer, and you want to make sure that that torque washer right there is in the right position. It has to slip in between in there and be faced a certain direction in order to keep the motor from twisting out of the metal. Now we're gonna continue on with loosening this. And pretty much, once you've got all of this loose, you can move on to the other side, get it loose. I do not believe you have to take this fully off, so you can leave it in place. It'll also keep the threads from getting buggered at the end, so I will probably just loosen it enough get it near the edge so that you can kind of protect your threading. Right about there. And totally loose in the back there. So this one, you just have to wrench on this until it pops off. It's on there pretty tight. There we go. Okay, now we just have to loosen this. Looks like an Allen. That is an Allen. Right there is an Allen. So got to get the Allen, pull that off, and get it to where it's loose so that we can pop. We're gonna have to take that completely off so that we can get the wheel off. We might have to redo or undo the brakes too. I've had the problem where the caliper, you know, it's really hard to line up, so you just take those off.
So it's time to take off the Freewheel. I have a 1-inch open-ended wrench, and it's slightly too big, but it catches enough to actually grip onto it. Now it's a lot harder than I thought. You really should be placing the wheel on the ground and then putting it vertical like this. I tried it first on the bench and that didn't work. Then once I got it on the ground, I was able to put enough leverage on it to, once it pops loose, then it's totally free. And that's the easiest way I know to get it off. But a 1-inch is slightly too big. I'm not really sure, probably a 19 millimeter or a 20 millimeter. Now that you've got it broken free, you can spin out the Freewheel pretty much by hand. It's not really that hard, and it should spin all the way off, going counterclockwise. So I took out the spacer that is with the other Freewheel. I watched another video and they took it out. So I took it out and it seems to work. I think because the new Freewheel is slightly taller, and so that spacer is not needed anymore. And the gears did align. I didn't even have to readjust them when I put everything back together. So I believe that that spacer is not needed. And you don't need to tighten this with the tool because it is pretty much going to be tightened by the chain since it spins in the same direction as it is threaded. I just put it on there and did a hand tight check to make sure it was hand tight, but the chain is actually going to fully tighten the Freewheel. So you put in the spacer on the inside, and then the other washer that has the almost like a little torque washer goes on the outer side. So this is going to be on the inside, and then the other two, the nut and the washer, are going to be on the outside. So you put the tire back on, and then you can put those two back on at that time. But it's not easy to get the tire on. It's actually harder to get the tire on than it is off. Just reverse the steps that you did to take the tire off and put the tire back on, and you should be ready to test. Let's see the results. This is the 28 to 11 tooth test ride.
So I basically installed this. It was a real bastard to get installed. It was not easy. You have to take the tire off, and getting the tire back on with all of the stuff is quite involved. Now I'm going to take this for a ride.
what the difference is, I would say that it was quite a bit of work to get the new Freewheel installed. So the Freewheel itself is almost exactly like the stock one from Lectric. It's got all of pretty much the same gears except for the smallest gear.
Has an 11th tooth versus the 14th tooth, which is slightly smaller.
So it gives it more torque in the highest gear to allow you to not have that free spinning feeling that you get when you're going above 20 miles an hour. So when I'm riding to work now, I'm starting to commute, I'm finding that the highest gear is pretty much feeling like I'm just spinning my wheel or just spinning the cranks and not really doing much as far as pedaling. But pretty much it's exactly like the stock gear except for that one, which gives me the high range. So if I'm in 5 and I start to pass up the gears here, okay, I'm in gear 7 now, and I'm still feeling like I'm pedaling. So that's one pass. I didn't have any massive wheel spin. I was able to feel like I was still generating speed with my legs. Before, when you have the stock one, it cuts out about 22, 23 miles an hour as far as you helping it, unless you're going downhill. But even then, you kind of get that wheel spin. But with this, it's about 25, 26 miles an hour. When I get it up to 28, I'm feeling like I was at 22. So it helped somewhat, but it does not do anything for your rest of your gearing. So if you think it's going to help you on the hills, really steep hills, it's going to have the same gearing. It's just the biggest gear, or smallest gear in this case, the highest speed is going to be the difference.
So I'm going to do a second test where I see if I can get it up to my top speed of 28 miles per hour. Even with the old gearing, I was able to get 28 miles per hour, but I did have a lot more wheel spin or pedal spin in doing so once you get to those higher speeds. In this test, I was able to get around 26 miles an hour before my legs started to feel like the pedals were not engaging anymore, and I was in PAS 5, gear 7, and I got all the way actually to 28 miles per hour at my very top speed through this test. So that's pretty good. So would I do this upgrade again? In short, if you are going to be commuting and you want to have more input as far as your pedaling is concerned and maybe save a little bit more on battery so you can go a little farther, then yes, this upgrade is worthwhile in that respect. Overall though, it does not change the dynamics of the bike hugely. You're still going to be doing 28 miles an hour top speed. you're still going to have 90% of the regular gearing. It's just that one smallest cog on the gear that is going to give you the biggest difference as far as whether you're inputting more of your pedal strength into the motor. Anyway, that's my video. Hope you guys found this informational and it helped your buying decisions. If it did, please click like. If you really liked it, please subscribe. And that's my video. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna get the tag out of here. Later.